Happy new month. I stayed up so late last night. I was playing old school music. I felt good dancing into August. And I pray that this month brings you guys just good health, good energy, abundance of all kinds. I felt really good last night. I don't know what was going on. But I came across this question. How does God speak to us when we ignore red flags? Now, how does he get our attention when we are ignoring his warnings? I gathered my notes together and I had to make a video about this because I know a lot of people, ignore. They ignore the signs, they ignore the flags. Now, one of the biggest signs you will notice is that he will let your peace become restless. When we step into situations that are not aligned with God's will or his best for us, that supernatural peace begins to disappear. And, we might appear on the outside that everything is just perfectly fine, but internally our spirit feels unsettled. How many of you know what I'm talking about? That feeling in your gut, that unease, that sense that you're walking on shaky ground. That's God speaking to you. He's showing us that his peace cannot coexist with the situation that carries a hidden threat or is leading us away from his path. I saw a post that read, if you have to convince yourself into peace, then guess what? It is not God's peace. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. We are often hard-headed, all of us. We're hard-headed people. We try to force a square peg into a round hole. We like to convince ourselves that with enough effort, prayer, and positive thinking, that discomfort that we continuously feel will just, it'll just leave. But if you have to convince yourself into peace, it's not the peace of God. His peace is a gift, a guiding principle, not something we fabricate through sheer will. Something I notice is that when we ignore the warning signs from God, this is something I notice, he will actually amplify that discomfort. You notice when you ignore something, it just is like, my God, what is going on? It's like things are just getting worse. Things literally start to feel like they're getting worse in whatever situation that you're facing. It's like God is turning up the volume on the divine alarm clock. God is not trying to hurt you. He actually loves you too much for you to walk right into something he never destined for you. That's why he sends the warnings, that unease, and it might look like anxiety, financial strain, conflicts in your relationship, conflicts in a relationship that prayer or a therapist cannot fix. What started as a minor irritation will morph into like a full-blown crisis. Like I said, this isn't God punishing us, it's God saving us. Think about your parents. If you grew up with loving parents, they're reaching out to grab you from running into a busy street. They might call you at first, hey, come back, but 9 times out of 10, with a child probably ignore it. So the parent's voice grows louder, more urgent, and finally they have to physically intervene. Same way God does with his children. God, seeing the full blueprint of your life, points out the crack before the flood. He makes the discomfort known now to prevent greater devastation later. Think about your situation you're in. Think about whether it's a job, a relationship. Think about it. I just take a few seconds. Are you at peace, or are you very unsettled, can't sleep, don't even recognize yourself in the mirror anymore? It's like you've tried everything. Well, we prayed, we did this, we did that, but it's just not working out. That's God trying to get your attention, So someone might ask, well, what do I do? Because this sounds like my situation. I thought I was on the right path, but I'm noticing more stress, money loss, health issues flooding in. I need you to stop, pause, and I need you to pray. Ask God directly, what is he trying to communicate? You know, once God has made his will clear, even if it's difficult, respond in obedience. And this may mean stepping away from a relationship, leaving a job, or postponing a decision that initially you thought seemed appealing. God is always speaking through his word, through prayer, through circumstances. I saw a funny story the other night on Instagram. A girl, she asked God for a sign if the guy she was with was her end all be all, her happily ever after, to give her signs, because she was already seeing the red flags. But y'all know how we make excuses. So when she was riding down the street, every sign on the building, every song that came on the radio, everything, people, even conversations, it was so funny. It was literally telling her that the person she was with wasn't, the person she was going to spend the rest of her life with or whatever. I thought it was really funny. But recognize the signs and don't ignore them. Go to God and wait. Listen to that restless peace. That's the Lord speaking to you. So I know we like to make excuses. God will show us signs very early on, and it'll start off small, but eventually it'll start getting just too loud to ignore. So you have to pay attention. And even sometimes just sitting next to your elders, your grandma might say something, I don't think that new job is for you. I had a dream. That's God speaking through her. You got to pay attention. But even still, take everything to God in prayer, But I hope this video was helpful. I don't like to make my videos too long, but I hope it was helpful, and thank you for listening.